I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith, but the diagnosis is certain. Over the next few years, you will likely lose the ability to walk without assistance, and there is no telling yet what other disabilities may result. You must prepare to make some changes in your life.
Thank you, Dr. Drake. For now, we should keep this between us. My daughter and Carrie are about to throw a party, a long overdue wedding reception, and I don't want to ruin it with this sort of bad news.
I understand.
Thank you for coming to my protest, Debbie. Are you liking Dallas so far? Yes, I am. I have already been hired by the local modeling agency and I start a series of photo shoots next week. Unfortunately, my mother could not be here. She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and she is losing the ability to walk, so she gave the Tuscany Tavern to Mother Lucy and I brought her here along with my brother James to help me and Carrie take care of her. And where is Carrie? Mother Lucy, I wish you and Mother Jessica would also come to Dallas with me. I miss you.
We miss you too, Carrie, but I can't just abandon my restaurant.
Nor can I abandon my pharmacy. But maybe next month we will visit you in return.
Multiple sclerosis.
Hello, Mother. How are you feeling today? Oh, about the same. Being unable to walk anymore is frustrating enough, but to also start losing my vision. I was told I may be almost blind in a few more years. I'm really worried about that. If that happens, we will deal with it. At least James and I can be here for you. He is doing well in school, as usual.
Speaking of James, he has just arrived home from school.
Carrie, now that I am about to graduate from high school, I have to think about my future. I know I want to be a scientist and travel the world dealing with its ecosystems and trying to solve environmental problems. But I have other concerns.
Like what?
Like who I may someday settle down and start a family with.
James, you are only 16. You might start considering that a decade from now. And as far as I know, you've never even had a love partner at all.
No, and there is a reason for that. Every time I consider hooking up with a girl, I end up comparing her with you in my mind. And they always come up short. I feel like I should be with you, but Debbie got you first and I understand that, since she is your age and you never showed any interest in me. But that doesn't stop how I feel. If you had not married Debbie years ago, I'd be asking for your hand about now. Go ahead and laugh. I guess I deserve it.
No, you don't. Debbie may still find you annoying, but over time you have evolved into a very sweet boy. I'm so flattered that I am somehow the standard by which you judge all other girls, but you should find good in all sorts of girls and not just a specific type.
I agree. But I guess what I am trying to say is that I'm still a virgin and I want you to be the one I lose my virginity with. And have you ever had sex with a boy before?
No, I haven't. You would be the first.
Even if you and I can't get married, I still want to be yours. I know you and Debbie want to have a child. Would you let me be the child's father?
So you want to get me pregnant instead of your sister having the baby?
That's right. Most sperm donors sell their sperm for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. I will offer you mine for free.
No, I can't do that. Debbie made it clear to me she wants to be the one to get pregnant. I could talk to her about the possibility of you and I being the parents of our child instead, but I'm sure she won't agree. And we will not discuss this again, James. Keep finding yourself your own love partner and don't look at me again. I am Debbie's and no one else's, period.
As you wish.
See that restaurant? That's the Tuscany Tavern. It is owned by my enemies, who defeated me and had me imprisoned for burning down the church that rejected me. I now see my mistake. I should have burned down the restaurant instead. Right? Destroying an actual place of business is what will do some real damage to the community. Fortunately, I have tools that can enable us to break into the restaurant after it closes.
Then we can plant a bomb in the kitchen and set it off remotely.
You're a good boy, Fred. I'm glad you remained faithful after so many abandoned me and the Lord. You will be well rewarded for your service.
Okay, the front door is unlocked.
And no sign of police, and I don't hear an alarm going off. Let's go in.
Okay, the bomb is ready. We have to place it as low as possible and surround it with combustible material to do maximum damage. That's what I learned from serving in the army.
Right, we just have to remember we are in the Lord's army and not that led by the unfaithful President Biden.
Hello, may I speak to Lucy Sims?
This is she. Why are you calling me at 3 in the morning?
This is Police Chief Kelly. I'm sorry to wake you up, but I wanted you to know as soon as possible that the Tuscany Tavern has been burned to the ground.
What?
Yes. I'm at the scene now and the fire is being put out, but there was massive damage. Here's a fireman to explain more.
Mrs. Sims, the fire started in the kitchen and quickly spread to the rest of the structure. We have already found evidence that a bomb was used to start the fire. I'm sorry, but it appears the structure is a total loss.
Thank you. Carry on. I will be by in the morning to see the damage for myself. Now I have to call all the other employees of the restaurant and tell them they will be out of work.
This couldn't have come at a worse time. We just adopted Vicky and now we have to worry about the loss of income from the restaurant. Even when we were raising Carrie, we needed incomes from 2 jobs to support her and this home. Jessica, does this mean you will send me back to Boston? No. Hi. I thought I was finally going to have a good life with a loving family. And instead, Vicky, we will not abandon you. I'm sure we will find a solution to this problem. Lucy and I made a commitment to you and we will keep it, no matter what. We are your mothers, and mothers will give their lives for their children. Have faith in us. Well, I am just used to people abusing me or at least disappointing me. I've never really felt loved by anyone before. Vicky, may I hug you? Thank you. That somehow makes me feel better. That restaurant wasn't just a place to eat. For years, your mother and my mother Lucy put their hearts into it. Now it is gone. I'm not even going to tell Mother Sandy about the loss yet. It would devastate her. And Carrie. I don't want to leave her in the nursing home anymore with those old people. Every time I see her there, she seems more and more depressed, like the spirit is being drained from her. I want her with us. Please. All right. We only put her in that home because we were thinking of having a baby in a couple of years and the extra bedroom would be our child's. Now we will have to give it to Mother Sandy. And not have a baby yet. What about James? He could move out when he turns 18 and then we could convert his bedroom into one for our child. That would be perfect. Oh, are you still wanting to get pregnant? Yes. We just need to find a sperm donor. Then you should know that James offered to donate his sperm to get me pregnant instead. It seems he is in love with me. He told you that? Well, I'm not accepting that. You remember when we tried to do the 3-way relationship with Laura Park and we had to end it because it was too awkward? It would be even more awkward for me to share you with my brother. That does it. The day he turns 18. I want James gone. I love him but I can't condone him wanting to steal you from me. No argument from me. So, Miguel, you say you saw 2 men outside the restaurant as it caught fire.
Yes. I am homeless, but Mrs. Sims, the owner of the restaurant, would allow me to come in and wash some dishes for her in exchange for cash and free meals. I was asleep near the restaurant when I heard an explosion. I got out of my sleeping bag and looked towards the Tuscany Tavern and saw the two men in front of it. I then took a pic of them with my cell phone.
Okay, show me the pic. Oh my god, he is back.
You know him?
Yes, I do. He has caused us trouble before. Attention all units, I'm putting out an APB on Dave Owen, who is wanted for an act of arson. This is a pic of him. If any of you see this man, arrest him. He has an accomplice in the arson, we must find him too. Mrs. Sims, a witness named Miguel Lopez has come forward to identify one of TB men who destroyed the Tuscany Tavern. Lopez says he worked for you.
Yes, he is a dishwasher. He can only work part-time because he also attends school, but he works hard. I can't wait for him to graduate from school so I can promote him. Anyway, who did he say destroyed the restaurant?
He showed me a pic of Dave Owen. I will transmit a copy of the pic to you.
That's Dave Owen, all right. Oh, a couple of weeks ago, his granddaughter Whitney Owen came to visit us. She warned us that her grandfather might attack us again. You might want to speak with her. I have her number.
So my grandfather did exactly what I thought he would do. And as for the other man in the pic, I think that may be my Uncle Fred. He used to serve in the army, but he was discharged after Donald Trump was replaced as president by Joe Biden. Uncle Fred said he refused to serve a leader unworthy of him. So much for patriotism, eh? Miss Owen, are you still with your parents? No, I moved out when I heard my parents and uncle were going to allow my grandfather to move in with them. I have an idea. You could use an app on your cell phone to secretly record a conversation of you, your Uncle Fred and your grandfather talking about the crime. If they confess and you record it, it could be used as evidence against them. So go back to your parents and ask if you can move back in. Then maybe we can nail your grandfather and uncle. Okay, I will do that. The family name has been badly tarnished, not only by what my grandfather has done, but by my parents and uncle supporting him. I can't excuse any of it.
To make a long story short, Whitney Owen did get the confession eventually from her grandfather and uncle, and the FBI then arrested them both for the act of arson. They were extradited from Georgia to Texas, and were then tried and convicted of arson and sent to prison, where Dave Owen died. It took a long time, but Lucy Sims eventually got the money from her property insurance company that she needed to rebuild the Tuscany Tavern. Its grand reopening was 6 months later, attended by Lucy, Jessica, Debbie, Carrie, and Vicky.
It's so strange having a white woman as my sister, but I guess it is no odder than having mothers who are themselves multiracial. But aside from that, do you like my family? Yes. But don't you mean our family? Ever since I started living with your mothers, I've been happier than I've ever been. I made so many friends at both my school and at your UU church. And your wife. Oh my God, you are so beautiful. I wish I could be a model like you, Debbie. Maybe someday you can be. Come to Dallas when you are a few years older and I may get you into the business. Excuse me, I need to take this call. James, this had better be important.
Yes, Debbie, this is extremely important. Our mother has passed away.
What? How?
I found her in bed and tried to wake her up, but she was already dead. It appears she swallowed poison. A bottle of cyanide was on the table next to her bed and it was open and nearly empty. I'm sorry, Debbie.
Thanks for letting me know. We will deal with this when we return to Dallas. Debbie, what's wrong? I will explain it to you later. Right now I don't want to ruin this celebration. Not only is this restaurant reopening, it is almost Christmas and it is Vicky's 13th birthday. Sandy is dead? Debbie, I am so sorry.
It is ironic that Sandy was much more like a sister to me than my actual sister Victoria was. This loss leaves a huge hole in my heart.
Debbie, are you sure your mother died by suicide? Yes. I thought moving her out of the nursing home and in with me, Carrie and James would at least make her feel better, but she only became more depressed and said on several occasions she felt like only a burden to the rest of us. I was hoping she would live at least long enough to hold in her arms her first grandchild. Debbie, are you saying that you are pregnant? Yes, she is. One of her fellow models, a young man named Leonard, learned that Debbie and I wanted to have a child and offered us his sperm for only $100. Debbie is now 4 months pregnant. And even better is that Leonard is black, so our child will be biracial. Debbie and I chose Leonard for that reason, because you and Mother Lucy are multiracial.
Congratulations, Debbie. I thought your belly was a bit swollen, but I wasn't going to be rude and ask about it.
Soon we will be grandmothers. I am certainly happy about that.
And so the circle of life continues to turn, as one life ends and another is about to begin. The story is now complete.
Debbie, what are you doing this late at night? I woke up a few minutes ago and you weren't beside me. I'm writing a letter to my mother. Debbie, your mother died last month. You can't send her a letter. Maybe not, but I feel like I need to get my feelings out somehow. I miss her, but I am also angry at her for leaving us. Especially with our baby on the way. I'm sorry, I am such a mess. Remember what you told me after I almost died by suicide. You said you could help me by my sharing feelings and talking them out. Let me do that for you now. I just don't understand why she took her own life. When I was dying that night, it was because I had lost my mind and could no longer reason clearly. That could have happened to your mother too. The fact remains she was older and was suffering from a chronic illness, unlike my younger and healthy self. She must have thought you didn't need to take care of two people, her and our son. So she chose to make room for him. Well, I should have had a say in that, damn it. I would have insisted she live on so she could help me. Even while disabled, she would have made a wonderful grandmother. Her death tore out my heart and left it empty. Yes, just like the loss of my mother Jessica's mother did me and her. And I remember what I told Mother Jessica right after that happened too. I will live as long as I can for your sake. So while we cannot bring back your parents, you can still live a long and productive life to make up for losing them. I love you. Carrie, you are everything to me. I can't begin to tell you how much you and your mothers mean to me. You don't have to say anything. Just love us like you always have. Please come to bed now. I think we need to hold each other. Of course. James, what are you doing with all that luggage? Are you going on a trip?
In a matter of speaking, actually, I am moving out.
Really? I thought we agreed you would move out on your 18th birthday. That won't be for another year.
Well, I found someone who is willing to take me in. And she is almost here.
Hello, Carrie, I am here to pick up James. And who are you? I don't think we have met before. No, but your mother Lucy has met me and James knows me from our Facebook connections. I am Whitney Owen, the granddaughter of Dave Owen, the former Baptist minister. That's right. But I am nothing like him. So why did you turn against him and help send him back to prison last year? Well, my grandfather, my parents and my uncle have always been dedicated supporters of law and order. That is, until my grandfather had his former church burned to the ground. Even as a Baptist, I knew that was a criminal act. But my parents insisted that my grandfather was still a good Christian and that his act was justified because he did it in God's name. I kept my mouth shut around them, But in my heart I knew they were wrong. You either believe in law and order, or you don't. You don't abandon your principles when things are not going your way. And then I find a blog written by Dale Husband, a former Baptist, and read many of the things he wrote about the Bible and Christianity, and as a result, I became an atheist. There was no way the Bible could be the Word of God with all the crap that is really in it. My grandfather lied to me all my life, and I wanted revenge. Then I found James, Debbie and Debbie's mother by their Facebook profiles and friended James. We have been swapping messages for over a year. And there he is. Whitney, James has told me everything. Are you sure about this? James is still only 17, and he is not exactly the easiest person to deal with. Debbie, I can handle him. I grew up with 3 brothers, and I know what teenage boys are like. And James and I have talked about what we want in our lives. I may be only 22, but I am ready to start a family of my own, especially after being rejected by the one I grew up in. And I need James for that.
Debbie, you and Carrie got married when you were almost 16 because you were ready for that. And at 17 I am ready for this. This amazing woman is the love I always wanted. If I have her, for the rest of my life I will need nothing else.
Then you have my blessing. You take good care of my little brother, Whitney.
When James Smith was 17 years old, he hooked up with Whitney Owen, the granddaughter of the former Baptist minister Dave Owen, and the two began a life together. You are taking a huge leap of faith with me. I've never had a steady girlfriend before, let alone someone who would marry me.
I know, but any relationship will have risks to it. But you said you wanted a lifetime commitment to one person, right? That's what I am offering. I won't dump you for trivial reasons. Nor will I expect you to abandon me.
So how soon do you want us to have a baby? Debbie hasn't even given birth to hers yet. And I want us to spend time just being a couple first.
That makes sense.
I assume you are still a virgin. I am one too.
Then let us experiment with each other's bodies and see how good we can feel together.
Susan Bentley is officially retiring as a cook at the Tuscany Tavern, so she has asked her granddaughter Penny to permanently replace her at the restaurant. Lucy and the other employees throw a party in Mrs. Bentley's honor.
I wish to personally thank you for all you have done over the past few years to make this restaurant such a success.
It was my pleasure. It was great to serve under Sandy and now you. I am only sad that Sandy could not be here. I know you don't believe in God or the afterlife, but if anyone deserved the blessings of heaven, she did. Her decision to buy and restore this restaurant helped so many lives. And thank you for hiring my granddaughter. She will no doubt be as successful as I was. I am ready to start work in the kitchen, grandmother. I will honor your legacy. Penny, you certainly have already made an impression on me. I could tell plenty of stories about your high school days.
Including the incident between her and Ted Wilson that led to Carrie beating him up?
Eric, no need to remind her of that.
I remember hearing about that. I wanted Ted expelled from school immediately, but Mr. Hernandez thought it was an isolated incident. And Carrie didn't help matters at all by assaulting Ted before we could deal with him.
I agree that Carrie made a mistake taking matters into her own hands. But Ted's beating her with that baseball bat was also inexcusable. That was the first time in my life I wanted to kill someone.
So after all this time and this place, I finally get to cellmate. What are you in here for? I got in a fight with another inmate and the warden put me in this straitjacket and threw me in here. Well, expect to be here for quite a while. The warden has favorites among the inmates, and once you get on his naughty list, he can make your life a living hell. But anyway, what got you sent here to begin with? Well, it's complicated. I was originally sent to juvenile hall after I beat up a girl at school. Then I picked a fight with a black kid who wouldn't shut the hell up about Black Lives Matter. So I was sent to this prison. And now I am surrounded by more black men, some of whom have daughters. When they find out what I did at school, they want to beat me up.
Then you were actually sent here for your own safety, son. And who was the girl you beat up on?
Carrie Sims. And I think I recognize you now. You are Dave Owen, right?
That's right. I was a preacher at the largest church at the town you come from. But that was long ago. Carrie and her atheist and lesbian mothers, along with her best friend Debbie Smith and her mother, somehow turned our town, and even the church I was once pastor of, completely upside down. The devil now rules that place. Even my own granddaughter betrayed me just like Judas Iscariot did Jesus. Now what?
Dave Owen, it is time for you to be returned to general population. Come!
And what about me? How long will I be in this cell?
As long as the warden considers you a threat. Given your track record, you could be here for weeks.
Mr. Owen, my name is Ted Wilson. From now on, I want to dedicate myself to your teachings. When we see each other again, I will be your disciple.
Good. Until we meet again, Ted.
Do you remember when we first met at that restaurant in Boston where you were working as a waitress?
Yes, of course.
At that time, I wasn't even looking for a new love interest. I had just recovered from my breakup with my last lover a few months ago and was fearful of being abused again. But then I realized you were yourself being abused by your own boss, and so I decided to help you.
And I am so glad you did. To this day, I credit you with saving my life. You are still as incredibly beautiful as ever, Jessica.
Maybe we should return to Boston and check out that old restaurant. I checked on the internet and it still exists. But it only serves seafood now.
Actually, I was thinking of selling the Tuscany Tavern and having us move out of this town. I think we should move to Los Angeles to be closer to our daughters and our grandson.
Who would you sell your restaurant to? You swore it would never be taken over by a giant corporation.
I have already talked about it with Bella Sterling. She wants me to hire all 3 of her children to work there, so I think she is very dedicated to the place. She works hard as a waitress, a cook, and a manager.
So be it. Sure, Debbie and I have an extra bedroom we are not using. We can give it to you. Great. It's about time we pulled up roots here and joined you in Los Angeles. Expect us to arrive by next month. I just hope it proves good for all of us. Well, this is it. Are you ready?
Of course. We both grew up in Boston, and it was more like Los Angeles than the tiny town we have left behind. I couldn't be happier about going to live with Carrie.
Welcome, my mothers. Follow me and I will show you to your bedroom. We hope you find this acceptable. It hasn't been slept in since Richard left. I have no complaints.
Any place Jessica and I can share will instantly be home to me. She is my everything.
Did I ever tell you about how we met up with your father? No, but it seemed like an odd coincidence that Lizzie Boarded Up, the punk rock star you loved as a teen, was my father's mother. It was no coincidence. Elizabeth Leslie and I met for the first time many years after she had dropped out of the music scene to raise Martin. But she and my mother were neighbors. When I told Elizabeth I and Lucy wanted to have a child but couldn't adopt, it was her idea to have Martin sell us sperm samples. So why are you telling me now and not when grandmother Elizabeth and I first met? Because she made me promise to keep that I knew your grandmother Elizabeth beforehand a secret as long as she was alive. Now that she has died, I feel free to tell you the truth. Your grandmother always loved you and wanted you to have a good life, even if she would never meet you. Thanks for finally telling me.
Los Angeles, in the year 2055.
Hello, Diana. I came as soon as I heard.
She's gone, Richard. And Suzanne fought so damn hard to stay alive, but her body finally gave in and she died in so much pain. And I couldn't help her.
You should know that a few weeks ago, Suzanne told me everything. About herself and about you. About how you both were conceived and the effects that had on your birth mothers.
So now you know why I could never commit myself to you. Or any other man. You are better off without me.
No, I don't think that at all. I want you to see this message Suzanne sent me. She wanted you to see it eventually.
My beloved Diana, I am making this message and will give it to Richard Sims, with orders for him to show it to you when I pass away. I've been told I have only a few weeks to live, so I want you to have a life of your own once I am gone. A life you can have with Richard. He has told me that he loves you so much that he wants to dedicate the rest of his life to caring for you, just as you cared for me. Just as you and I were both adopted, Richard says he is willing to adopt a child with you. Don't deprive yourself of love anymore. You've done so much for me, Laura, and everyone else. It's about time you did something for yourself. Richard is a wonderful young man, because of his equally wonderful mothers, who were my and Laura's best friends. So love him, just as I have loved you. I don't know what to say.
Then let me talk. Diana, you are truly beautiful, and not just in reference to your appearance. Everyone I have ever talked to about you thinks you are like an angel. I always wanted someone like you in my life. I don't need to look for anyone else, ever. So will you marry me?
And Laura. Cousin Mary. Diana, as sad as I am over losing the love of my life today, I will also be happy knowing you have found the love of your own life. If anyone deserves to be happy, it is you. I agree with Mama Laura. Make us all happy by saying yes. Then I accept. Just give us some time to get through this situation with Aunt Suzanne's passing, but once that is done, we will plan for us to be together. I promise.
I will do whatever I can to help you. That I promise. I love you, Diana. Forever.
We know how the Debbie and Carrie saga began.
Look, Mom. I drew our family in school today. Oh, wow. I didn't have time to finish James' face. Carrie drew her two mothers. She said they are married to each other. Our teacher rejected her picture, saying Carrie's mothers are living in sin. That made Carrie cry. What does that mean?
But thanks to a timely intervention, it is about to take a different direction. The weekend following that conversation with Debbie, her mother Sandy is watching Saturday Night Live soon after Debbie went to bed.
What's that noise? Hello, Mrs. Smith. And welcome aboard my spacecraft. Why have you brought me here? Where are you from? My name is Diana, and I am from several decades in your future. I came back to the year 2021 to find you. There is someone waiting to talk to you. Come follow me.
Diana then leads Sandy from the control room. And then she encounters.
Hello. It's so good to see you again, Mother. It's been a long time. Way too long.
Are you Debbie, but all grown up and elderly?
Yes. There is so much I've been wanting to tell you. So much that I want to change.
What do you mean?
In a few years, you will come down with a crippling disease called multiple sclerosis. You will lose the ability to walk and be confined to a wheelchair. I tried my best to take care of you, but it somehow wasn't enough. You kept spiraling down into a deep depression. Then I got pregnant with my first child. And soon after you learned about that, you died by suicide. Maybe you thought you were a burden to me and you wanted to make room for my baby, but you never asked me what I wanted or how I felt. You weren't there when I needed you most to help raise your grandchild, and they never were able to know and love you. And your death so soon broke my heart forever.
Debbie, I am so sorry. May I hug you?
Please.
Mrs. Smith, my grandfather was a scientist who spent most of his career in a biotech lab seeking cures or vaccines for diseases. One of his most important discoveries was a vaccine for multiple sclerosis. He then won a Nobel Prize for that. In my native time, all children are expected to get that vaccine. I have a dose of it I can give you so you won't be crippled. And hopefully you will live to a ripe old age. Will you accept it? Diana, after what I just heard, I can't get that vaccine fast enough. And I normally hate getting shots, but...
Diana then takes Sandy to the medical room.
Alright, close your eyes and then this will only take a moment. Okay, I am ready. Ouch. Well, that was quick. I don't think I will ever get that image of that old version of Debbie out of my mind. But at least I know now the Debbie I am with won't endure the trauma of losing me so soon. Indeed, no matter what happens to me in the future, I should always choose life and not give up on it. I am needed in this world. And that's a good feeling to have.
And why make such a change to the storyline? Because, to put it simply, suicide sucks.